Town Board, you are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the September 23rd regular meeting of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Councilwoman Burke Gonzalez.
Present.
Councilman Lees.
Present.
Councilwoman Overby.
Here.
Councilman Bragman.
Here.
Supervisor Van Scoyac.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance
to the flag of the
United States of America,
and the
republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. I see we're still waiting for our town attorney to join us.
John's coming in right now.
Okay, great. And do we have a John Ryan Jr. on the line?
Let me see. I have a few people who are calling in. Yeah, I have Hugh King. He's in the waiting room right now. I put him right in.
Okay, yes. Let's please go to Hugh King,
All right.
our town historian. Welcome, Hugh. Oh, he's got the crier hat on.
The crier hat today. What happened to my screen here? All right.
You're looking good, Hugh.
No, looks too close. Ooh. Okay. That guy next to you.
You're all good to go.
I always think he's talking to me. Who's the guy next to you?
That your shadow?
Yeah, that's my silhouette.
Silhouette.
So you left us with some questions to answer today. And then
Right.
we're going to ask you some questions.
Correct. Correct.
So do you want to start with the question and answer session?
Okay, is that all right?
Sure.
Be right back.
Let's see now. Councilwoman Gonzalez
Yes.
had the question of who was the first lady who visited Home Sweet Home?
That would be First Lady Florence Kling Harding. And she visited, and on White House letterhead, she wrote to Mrs. Hannah Valentine Buke on September 21st, 1921. And in this letter, she thanked Mrs. Buke for the lovely gift of a lusterware cup, saucer, and spoon that Buke had sent Harding following the First Lady's visit to Home Sweet Home. She visited the Home Sweet Home with Secretary of War John Weeks and Frank Wyborg. And during her visit, her husband, President Warren Harding, played golf at the Shinnecock Golf Course.
That's right. I was going to mention the letter and you already found it. We have that letter in the archives of Home Sweet Home that Mrs. Harding wrote. And then, of course, President Harding ruined it because he went out west and died and they never got there. Good. That was a good one. Wow. Okay. The Barbershop on Newtown Lane.
Okay, so I'm going to be honest here. This is probably one of the toughest ones you've given me. I do have to say I was a Frank Libert barbershop boy over on North Main Street, and and God bless her soul, the last person to cut my hair was Trudy Lester. And ever since then, I've saved thousands of dollars doing it myself.
And it shows.
Thank you very much.
And you've done a really good job too, by the way.
I'm trying. I am getting better every day. I like to say after post-cancer, it's still growing back. So
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
I found one from a 2007 New York Times article, which headline was "A Crier Spreads the Word About Yesterday's Town." And that was from you, Hugh King. You were the crier of the New York Times article. And it was Augie's Barbershop is what you mentioned. That was one of them.
Yeah.
The other one came from Norma Edwards, and she mentioned to me it was Paul Moraska, in the 1940s, who had a barbershop on Newtown in Maine. And the third one's the one that is currently still there. I guess it was the East Hampton Barbershop. But that's what I came up with, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but...
You're right. It was Augie Dragata's barbershop. And you know what the great thing about Augie's barbershop was? It's where the... I can't remember. There's some store in there now. The building, you can still see the building.
Yep.
Well, in 1965, I'm in there getting a haircut, and guess what happened? I bought a lot down at Sunnydale Acres from Augie.
Did
He and Rudy DeSanti bought all that land on Woodbine Drive and Sandra Drive and Glade Road, and everybody laughed at them, thinking, what are they buying that land down there for? And they named it Sunnydale Acres after the Dick Tracy comic strip that Theo Plenty lived in Sunnydale Acres. And the price of the lot was $2,000.
Wow.
And I paid $50 a month to Augie. And if I went into service, it would be suspended, the payments. And that's what you could get in Augie's barbershop.
Very good.
That was good. All right. Who are the three men? And there only were men, unfortunately, who served as both the mayor and the village mayor and the supervisor. Sorry.
Okay, well, I think that was my question, Hugh. The first in that group would be Jonathan Baker, who served in the 1880s. The second would be Nelson Osborne, who served in the 30s. And finally, Ronald Rio, who served in the 70s.
That's right. There they are. Jonathan Baker was elected the president of the village in 1920. Remember, this is the 100th anniversary celebration of the village. This year it was supposed to be last year, but of course it got canceled. He also was voted out after his first term. That was it. Okay. The two businesses that appeared or at the 1 Main Street, Councilwoman Overby.
I do. Now, it does have a long history. So I'm going to start with 1917.
Ooh.
And the family of Edwin M. and Mary A. Millard built the structure that still stands today at the land that was previously owned by Christian Skank, a German immigrant. So the Millards leased the building to the government for $900 per year for use as a post office.
Oh.
The post office had previously been at 41 Main, now which is Hampton, and the second floor is leased to the New York Telephone Company for switchboard space, and the American Legion Post 700 occupies a portion of the second floor.
Oh.
So in 1927, the post office building is sold to H.C. Bohack, Inc.
That's right.
And it is a supermarket chain. The sale was reportedly in 1927 for $68,000. The post office then moves to a new location on Newtown Lane, which is now Theory, the clothing store Theory. Bohack's was based in Queens and operated a chain of markets throughout Brooklyn, Queens, Westchester, Connecticut, and Long Island, with other local stores in Sag Harbor, Riverhead, and Southampton. The chain at one point operated 59 stores, but it shut down in 1977. And after 22 years, in 1949, Bohack's moves to 2 Panago Road, a building that they built to expand their store and is currently Cittarella's.
Oh, wow.
Then 1950, Trudy Shop, Trude Shop, Shoppe, opens in the former Bohack's, selling dresses and sportswear.
Oh.
The store is owned by Donald and Gertrude Katz of Sag Harbor, and they sell fashions inspired by their Parisian honeymoon. So 1 Main Street is now sold to Gilbert P. Smith of East Hampton. Mr. Smith was co-founder of the Smith Meal Company at Promised Land in Amagansett. His company was one of the largest menhaden fishing and processing companies in the world, operating 15 ports and processing facilities along the coast. In 1971, Dr. Alan York and attorney Joseph Fallon buy 1 Main Street for $85,000 and divide the ground floor in two. Dr. York moves his optometry shop from 35 Main, and Joe Fallon occupies half of the offices upstairs. In 1980, Dick and Wendy Ingalls, Ingle Pottery, joins Dr. York at 1 Main. The Ingalls store sells pottery, baskets, and crafts. The shop was originally in Bridgehampton and then at 13 Newtown Lane before settling into number 1 Main. When rent was increased to $5,500 a month and at a 55 per square foot sets a record in East Hampton, Ingle Pottery moves to 51 Main Street, which is now the Corcoran office, replacing, which was at that time James Marley Stationery Store, which had occupied that space for 83 years. Ingle buys the building for a reported $510,000. Then Tom Steele and his wife Ellen Dooley opened Above the Potatoes at 1 Main and closed their other locations in Southampton and West Hampton. The store is considered a lifestyle store for the entire family and was known for its quirky vibe. In 2000, Above the Potato closes after the landlord, Dr. York, seeks a rent increase to $15,000 a month. Calypso, the women's clothing store, having doubled in size of its store at 17 Newtown, increases its footprint in town and takes over the ground floor at 1 Main. In 2006, Dr. York passes away. Who will pass away in 2014. Sorry, I don't want to make his demise any earlier. Sells the building to Eli Tahari for $7.5 million. The store opens in 2007 and occupied until I think last year it moved, and is now occupied by another clothing store called One. So that's the history.
And that shows you what's happened to the village of East Hampton as far as stores and rent. And that's why we don't have a hardware, we don't have a general store. Remember, there's a big movement to open up.
And I hope that movement gets a lot of traction because it is really missing. And I'm missing some of the stores that I remember too, as I'm sure everybody has memories of walking along Main Street where the liquor store was, where the stationery store was, where you could, buy
Transformers.
Or ice skates, I remember buying ice
cards
where Cinderella was. So anyway, that was a really good
that was a window into the past. And
it is. And thank you for giving me that opportunity, because I would like to see the village move forward with something that we can all go and buy in the village.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. Councilman Bragman, we have the Edwards Theater.
Yes. You had asked me about businesses that were lost in the fire, I believe, if I have that question correct. And I had a little panic as the meeting was beginning, thinking I had forgotten to answer this, but I just did it long enough ago so I didn't remember. And I have my notes here.
Okay.
The Edwards Theater dates from 1926. And it was big to begin with. It could house 1,000 people, but it was reduced to about 825 during its renovation in 1951. And although it was fireproofed, at least the walls were fireproofed, it was destroyed in 1964. And again, the businesses that went with it or that were near it, describe a very different village center. Now, I have a name of one of the businesses, and but I didn't write down in my notes what it was, but I'm going to take a guess from memory, and it was Adam and Peck. And I believe they were surveyors, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were destroyed. And then there was the Marmador Luncheonette and A.C. Osborne Jewelry Store was also damaged, as was Madeline's Beauty Shop. And each of them, a small business, a very different kind of community, a little more intimate. And a milk truck driver, remember those? Probably not. I think actually from way back as a kid, I remember milk bottles. a milk truck driver spotted the fire at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was quite a fire to put out. And the only information I have about the fire was that Cheryl Dayton was a firefighter, and it happened in April of 64. And, oh, I'm sorry, Adams and Peck was a stock brokerage firm.
Right.
I'm sorry about that. And they reopened in the boiler room of the Valley National Bank Osborne office. And a surveyor, I should have remembered, was Jeffrey Bass.
Right.
Jeffrey Bass. And he went over to Halsey's garage on Newtown Lane temporarily and was sifting through his records to try to, restore his records. But each of those business, I mean, the surveyors are still with us, but stock brokerage, not so much. And jewelry store, I guess we have a lot fancier jewelry store these days. But that's what I can tell you about what businesses were around the theater during the fire.
Yeah, that's it. I think the Kip Shop was there too at one time on the left-hand side. It's called the Kip Shop. Might have been later.
That I didn't see.
Come across, yeah. Well, that's great. Everybody got almost everything that you could get. So thank you. You are outperforming the village board. Okay. Now, I hope they're not listening to this.
Well, actually, Mayor Larson is joining us in just a few minutes.
Oh, geez, thank you. It's a lot.
Speaking of the village board, Hugh, congratulations on the honor that they bestowed on you. It's not everybody that gets a street named after him, I'll tell you.
It's an alley.
And well, maybe you'll work your way up to a street.
It's an alley now, but
it beats a cul-de-sac.
And it's not a dead end. So
there you go. So Hugh, you had also asked us to
ask me some questions. Okay.
I have one for you.
All right.
On June 1st of 1899, the Home Water Company began serving customers. So who established it and what official title did they hold?
It was Joseph Osborne.
Wow.
Joseph S. Osborne. And he may have been the town clerk at that time.
Bingo. Good job, Hugh.
But you hit on one of the reasons why people wanted to incorporate the village.
Yes.
Because when they saw that there was a home water company, then they realized, then they formed the Maidstone Fire District, right, in 1899. So people began to go, hey, maybe we could get better roads, if we have. So, that's a great
and a
question.
village was born. And, so when the village the first budget was prepared, $20,000 was allocated to road improvement.
Is that right? Yeah. Wow.
$200 for the fire department, $5,000 for street lights, $4,150 for the police fund. So, in today's, the total budget was $43,395. In today's dollars, that would equate to $630,873.
That's great.
That's about 3 police officers right there.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and they couldn't spend any of the money yet because they hadn't raised taxes either. Right. Ernest Field couldn't take care of the roads. He didn't have any money.
It was interesting looking in some of the earlier town records. It's budget season right now, and I'm working with our budget director and finance to put together the budget. But in those days, they actually bonded for the expenses, and then they taxed after that. So that's kind of a unusual, by today's standards, way of doing things.
Okay. Anybody else have a question?
I do.
Okay.
So there are 2 organizations just down the road from us here that turn 100 this year. Can you name them?
Oh, yeah. I was going to talk about them because next meeting, you're going to have some questions about that one. That the Ladies Village Improvement Society was 125th anniversary last year. And then this year, the East Hampton Historical Society is 100 years old.
I was thinking head east.
East of Panago.
East of Panago.
Oh, we're going east. I'm
Going
sorry.
east.
They're 100 years old?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute. The Amagansett Village Improvement Society. I couldn't believe it. They started in 1921.
Yeah. Their first meeting was September 21st, 1921.
Is that right? Oh, yeah. And the Amagansett Historical Association only started in the 60s. So the AVIS is so much older. Okay, there's another organization that's 100 years old. Is it in Montauk?
No, and I guess organization is I'm using that term loosely.
Okay, I don't know.
The South Fork Country Club.
Oh.
They're celebrating their centennial this year.
Yeah, the golf club started in the 20s. Was it 21?
1921.
Wow. When I was growing up, there were potato fields over there, Wow. Okay, that's a good one. All right, anybody else?
Well, I just had a question for you, not to stump you,
That's all
but,
right.
but to ask you, what was your favorite store in the village growing up? What do you remember that was your favorite place to go?
See, now you hit on 2 points. Number one, I grew up in Amagansett.
Right.
So I didn't tell my parents to drive me to East Hampton so I can walk around the stores. We went to high school and maybe the movies. My favorite store was East End Hardware, because upstairs in East, I think I told you this before, in East End Hardware at Christmas time, there were toys up there. There were train sets, sleighs, huge things. And when my father would go in there to get a fitting for his plumbing business, I'd go up there and I would always ask for the train set, and I still haven't got it. So.
Christmas is coming.
Okay, that's true. I never thought of that. So yeah, that would have been my favorite store up there.
So what was your favorite store in Amagansett?
Amagansett. We didn't have a lot of stores in Amagansett. You couldn't go in the liquor store. There was Pete Renner's Barbershop. You couldn't go in Gordon's restaurant. The library, I didn't spend enough time in there. I guess the Amagansett School was probably my favorite place in Amagansett. Well, I went to school there for 8 years, and that was a wonderful time there. I guess the Amagansett School would be good.
I have a couple of questions. They're general and they're Sag Harbor focused, and probably because I was reading, in that marathon Moby Dick reading, and I was thinking about the whaling industry. And so I wanted to ask you 2 questions. What was the first industry that came into Sag Harbor after the whaling industry was really, on its way out? And the second is, what was the most unusual water-related industry that came in the late, almost the turn of the century, around 1891 in Sag Harbor?
I don't think I have any idea. What happened after whaling?
Yep.
The place burned down in 1877. So what did they start up again? Well, maybe Joseph Fahey brought in his watch case workers. The watch case factory could have been a business.
I believe. Yeah, I know about that. I believe it may have been an investor in a steam cotton mill.
Oh, okay.
There was a steam cotton mill that was completed in 1850, and the plant took up the entire block of Washington Church, Sage, and Division Street.
Okay.
It's possible he was an investor. And the other business that I was thinking of, I'm trying to think how I could give you a hint on this, but I think I'll just say was the unusually named Bliss Torpedo Company.
Oh, yeah.
And they were building torpedoes in 1891, and I think inadvertently sank a couple of ships that were moored nearby. But it was a serious business, and they actually, discovered or invented refinements to the torpedoes. And I have a feeling it was carried on into the World War I time frame and thereafter. But I thought, well, that's a really, that's a water dependent use that we don't think about too much these days.
Right, and thank you, because both of those businesses are in Dorothy Zakowski's book about the Sag Harbor, the story of an American beauty, now that you've reminded me of it. Now, thank you.
You found me out.
Yeah.
I
All
like
right.
to read that book.
Okay, that's it. I can leave you, but here's what we'll do next time, all right? Since it's the 100th anniversary last year of the Ladies Village Improvement Society, why can't we all try to find out some important point about the Ladies Village Improvement Society, something they did, something they were involved in, and then we could share that next time. And then the following meeting, we should talk about the East Hampton Historical Society and something that they have done or have been doing. And then when we get to 2022, we need to talk about 2023, because why are we talking about 2023?
That was the end of 2023?
Yeah, it's the 375th anniversary of the founding of the town of East Hampton by the English. Not the Native Americans were here already, remember?
Yeah, and not the Dutch who
Not the Dutch.
Long Island before the English arrived.
Yeah, all right. So, okay, so next time it'll be LVIS, okay?
All right.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Hugh. We
thank you, thank
appreciate
you.
you helping us keep history alive.
That's right. We're doing it.
Yes, indeed. So before we move on here, I have somewhere on my desktop something I'd like to share. Bear with me just a moment. There we go. Today, it's my pleasure to present a proclamation to the Hampton Lifeguard Association. We have John Ryan Jr. here with us. Whereas the Hampton Lifeguard Association, established in 1992 to waterproof Long Island South Fork through education, training, and community involvement. And whereas the Hampton's Lifeguard Association is comprised of the East Hampton and Southampton lifeguards and supports multiple programs for residents of all ages, including the East Hampton Town Nipper Program, the Junior Lifeguard Program, Cadet Program, Volunteer Ocean Rescue, and YMCA Hurricane Swim Team. And whereas the Hampton Lifeguard Association has helped to develop an in-school swim program to give all students the opportunity to learn to swim. And whereas members of these programs traveled to South Padre Island, Texas to compete in the 2021 National Lifeguard Championships. And whereas the junior competitors showed outstanding skill and motivation, earning dozens of bronze, silver, and gold medals. And the senior competitors achieved their highest ranking yet through determination and dedication, finishing third place in the national competition. Therefore, be it resolved, proclaim that the town of East Hampton hereby recognizes the outstanding efforts and accomplishment of the Hampton's Lifeguard Association. And we have a legacy member of that organization with us here today, John Ryan Jr. John, I want to thank you on behalf of the town board and the town for all the efforts this association has gone through, the efforts to waterproof, keep people safe. We live on an island, we're surrounded by water, and what an outstanding organization. And congratulations to all the young people who competed, representing East Hampton so very well. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all of you, because without the support of the East Hampton Town Board, the village trustees, village board, the Southampton Town Board, this isn't possible. I mean, we put a lot of work into it. I wrote a paper in 1994, my master's, right, getting my master's, and the paper was on, well, it was going to be on the reluctant learner. But when I stepped into the class to explain my lesson, my paper that I had to write, my final paper for my master's, the only reluctance was me. And I finally told her, look, I spent a long day on the beach. We made hundreds of rescues, and it's sad to think that we're rescuing our local children. And thankfully they all survived, but it's frustrating not to have a swim program. And she looked at me and says, John, why are you writing about a reluctant learner? You should be writing about what you have a passion for. And I said, you mean I can write about that? She says, absolutely. Let me tell you one thing. You write about something you don't like or you don't have an interest in, it's going to be a struggle to write that paper. If you have a passion for something, you're going to find it easy. And she was right. I wasn't a writer. I'm a math teacher, a science teacher. I had an easy time writing that paper because it was something I did have a passion for. And it was titled Water Safety in Your Community and starting of a junior program. And it all came true that next year or the following year because of the support of the town board. And it's grown from numbers I think we're at 40 the first year to now we're at over 400 involved in a junior and NIPA program. So thank you to the town board for everything you've done to help waterproof this community.
I just want to say, John, it's not overstating to say that this organization certainly impacted both of my children's lives as, they became part of that organization from the time they were 16. And, they still talk about it. It's one of their fondest memories of being in your care, really. And thank you so much for being who you are and caring for them. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll just echo briefly that, both my children were through the program. It really shaped them as growing teenagers and helped them become adults through that period of time. And that's life skills that have been taught and have led to actually an ocean rescue by my daughter when she was out surfing, saving somebody who was having a heart attack on their surfboard at the time and rescuing from the water. Those skills translated, they've been multiplied hundreds of times over, John. So many people have learned those life skills, learned how to swim. We're truly indebted to you and your family and everybody else who's been involved in the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And Johnny, I'll just say it's been a pleasure working with you and your staff.
Yeah.
And I think one of the hardest things for me in the last 2 years of COVID was to make decisions about how our junior lifeguard program was going to have to be limited. To see, the dissatisfaction from the parents or also from the children, understanding that these kids need to learn how to swim out here, learn how to socialize then too. That was difficult, but how the HLA then stepped up to work within what our protocols were to have successful seasons. They paid off, John, and they paid off well down there in South Padre Island. So congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you.
I just want to add, my own experience, which reminds me of how important the work is that you've done. And that is, as a parent, if you've ever had the experience of having your kid in trouble in the water, it's one of the most scary and awful feelings you can have. I mean, there's a helplessness there, and I've experienced it, and am very grateful for the training that you give to our kids, and always bear that in mind. I had one very close call.
Yeah.
And, don't ever want to repeat that.
Thank you, Jeff.
And it's great that you got to tell your story, John, in the documentary Waterproof, and that it's playing in film festivals across our country and, in Canada and winning awards because of the work that you and Big John and your family and your whole group have done. So thank you for that.
It's funny how once you started, it grows. And we got, and the hardest job I will say is, and those of you that have children that have been lifeguards, the hardest thing they ever had to do was make that decision. They had to stop lifeguarding. They had to leave the job of a lifeguard to pursue a profession that was going to, they were going to be able to live off of. But, we get those people back when they have kids. and they know they are kids. They want their kids involved. And then all of a sudden they have that opportunity. They're down at the beach watching their kid, and we're saying, hey, we need help. When are you going to take your ocean test? Oh, yeah, I can't do that. Yes, you can. And sure enough, little by little, a little bit of push, they eventually come back and they take their ocean test and they jump in and they start to become that lifeguard again. But once a lifeguard, always a lifeguard.
Yes.
When you go to the water, you're always watching the water. It's just natural instinct.
Well, thanks again, John, and congratulations to everyone who participated in that national competition. You represented us so very well. We're extremely proud of you.
Yeah.
So
there's one more thing. We came up there. We received the award. There was some, we're dealing with a number of D1 swimmers or Olympic trial swimmers and competitors, and LA County and Monmouth County are big teams. And when they came up and said that we were a threat, that was a compliment. But when they rang that bell for LA County walked up and they got their award, and it's a huge bell on a platform. You got to roll it in, and when they rang that bell, couple of the guards looked over at me and said, "Man, that's a nice bell." I said, "One day we'll ring that bell." So, one day.
All right. Well, here's to ringing that bell someday.
Right.
Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for all you do. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Appreciate
John.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, and your dad.
All right. Well, absolutely.
Yep.
He's a driving force.
Yes, he is.
So that brings us up to the official part of the meeting. We'll get started with it. We have public hearings. Carol, could you read the first public hearing notice?
Before the public hearings, I will read one COVID disclosure. Due to the public health and safety concerns related to COVID-19, the town board will not be meeting in person. Pursuant to New York State Legislature's adoption of an amendment to Subpart A of Part BB of the laws of 2021 Part E, which authorizes political subdivisions to permit any public body to hold meetings remotely without in-person access by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the opportunity to view or listen to such proceedings, and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. This public hearing of the town board will be held via video conferencing, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. The public can watch and participate in the public hearing live on local TV channel 22 and live online from the public meetings link on the LTV website. Members of the public may provide comments on the matter being heard by calling the number available on the live stream. Comments may also be submitted and will continue to be accepted in writing by the town clerk by email to cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov or by mail to the town clerk, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton. Comments must be received within 1 week of the posting of the public hearing transcript. A transcript of the public hearing will be prepared and filed with the town clerk and placed upon the town's website. Please check the meeting agenda posted on the town's website for any changes to the instructions to access the public hearing and for updated information. Please take notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing on Thursday, September 23rd at 11 a.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard, to hear any and all persons either for or against a local law entitled, a local law to consider making the Carl Fisher House and Annex property located at 44 Foxborough Road in Montauk and further identified on the Suffolk County tax map as 319-1-7.6, consisting of approximately 7.53 acres, a historic landmark pursuant to section 255-725, designation of historic landmarks and historic districts of the East Hampton Town Code. Pursuant to section 255-725 of the East Hampton Town Code, the town can, by adoption of a local law, designate the property or structure to be a historic landmark. This legislation considers making such a designation for the Carl Fisher House and Annex property located at 44 Foxborough Road in Montauk, and further identified on the Suffolk County tax map as 319-1-7.6, consisting of approximately 7.53 acres. Copies of the proposed local law sponsored by Supervisor Van Slyke are on file in the town clerk's office and available Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 4 p.m., exclusive of holidays.
Thank you, Carol. Scott Wilson, are you on the line? Morning, Scott.
I'm having an audio problem with Scott for a second. Scott, are you trying to talk right now?
I think we also have members of the Montauk Historical Society who wanted to address this as well.
Yeah, if my audio is not working, they could.
There you are, Scott.
Can hear you now.
Okay. So if you could see that aerial that I put up on there, photograph, walking through this house is a bit like walking through a time capsule. While we can invite the public, we can't invite the public to walk through it. If you actually pull this property up on Zillow and actually click through, there's some pretty amazing photographs. The historic significance of this property is outlined in the 1989 Historic Preservation Report, Phase 1, written by Robert Hefner, and his later Phase 2 intensive survey in 1990, which our planning department relied upon in order to fully assess the property. And yes, we do have some guests who could likely more eloquently describe not only the structures and the property, but the percentage of Carl Fisher. And if they're on the line, it would be great if we can have an opportunity to listen to their.
I believe we have Dick White and Stephanie Cruza from the Historical Society.
They might be calling in. So let me. I have a few callers on the line, and I can start unmuting and seeing who's who.
Sure.
Okay. Hello, caller ending 5258. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello. You're on the air.
Hi. I'm sorry. I was looking for general public comment, not the public hearings.
Understood. Thank you very much.
I thought we had them in the waiting room, actually.
I got
Joe Gaviola.
I got Joe Gaviola there. Yes, I do. Joe Gaviola is being let in, but that's the only one I have right now.
Okay.
Oh. Hey,
And
Joe,
there's
could you...
Dick White. Okay.
There you go.
All right. There's our Historical Society members.
Great. Hey, Joe, could you mute the audio feed in the background? Or if you have a YouTube open or anything?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
I lost.
So good morning. I see Dick White and Joe Gaviola, both from the Montauk Historical, and I believe is that Stephanie in the background? I can't quite see. There's Stephanie. It looks like the whole crew's there. So good morning and welcome. We're just opened the hearing on the historic designation of Carl Fisher House. And I know that the Historical Society has expressed a great deal of interest in this structure for many years. And so we'd like to hear from you if you want to make any comments about the historic nature of the house and Carl Fisher's impact on Montauk.
Good morning, Peter and Town Board. My name is Dick White Jr., and except for my first 3 days in Southampton Hospital, I have spent the last 80 years living in Montauk. Today, I want to urge the members of the Town Board to vote to declare the Carl Fisher / Aiken House an historic site and to acquire it for the town through CPF funds. Other than second house and third house and the lighthouse, I can't think of a property more worthy of that designation. The house was built in the 1920s when Carl Fisher was reshaping the character of Montauk from a windswept moorland of thousands of acres of grazing lands to a tourist mecca. It is important to retain and preserve this historic structure and the 7 acres that surround it, and to use it to allow future generations get a glimpse of and feel for how beautiful and wild Montauk once was. When Carl Fisher arrived here in 1925, there were hardly any permanent structures and fewer than 150 people living here. His ambitious plans for the land called for bringing in skilled professionals like architects, builders, craftsmen, office workers, many of whom's descendants remain here today. In addition to those who moved here at Fisher's request, many others were attracted by the jobs he offered. At the peak of construction, between 800 and 1,000 workers were employed, and many of them and their families stayed on. In fact, because of what Carl was doing, my grandfather, W.F.E. White, opened White's Drugstore in 1926, which my father took over in 1928, and our family has grown 3 generations since then. Fisher really had a hand in creating a community we know today. Fisher's house at 44 Foxborough Road is an excellent example of 1920s Dutch colonial architecture. And we owe a real great debt of gratitude to the Aiken family for maintaining the building to retain the magical days when Carl Fisher entertained guests and prospective buyers at his house in Montauk. How glorious it must have been to come by train from New York to spend a few days in the house on the hill. The house where one could see all of Montauk undeveloped and wild from ocean to sound. Again, I urge you to designate the Fisher-Aiken House as a historic site and to preserve the past for the future by acquiring it for the people of the town of East Hampton. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dick. Appreciate you joining us and all you're doing to preserve Montauk's history there with the society.
It's a labor of love and ongoing. Next to speak is going to be Stephanie.
Welcome, Stephanie. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning. My name is stated as Stephanie Cruza. I'm president of the Montauk Historical Society and will be speaking on behalf of that organization today. I appreciate the opportunity to speak at this hearing. I want to echo Dick White's sentiments and wholeheartedly support the designation of the Carl Fisher House as a local historic landmark. I also fully endorse the acquisition of this unique site with CPF funds to ensure it's preserved for posterity. Since 1999, the Peconic Bay Community Preservation Fund has acquired over 10,000 acres of land on the East End for public use and for the enjoyment of open space. Also, importantly, for the purpose of, among other things, the preservation of lands and buildings deemed historically significant. A benefit of this remarkable initiative is that it enables us to retain the community character and sense of place we all know and value, which otherwise might so easily slip away. The Carl Fisher House is a cornerstone of the Montauk community. Ask any local child about sledding on the hill on this property, and then realize that the schoolhouse that our children attend and the churches where we gather to worship, the golf courses we enjoy, the majestic Montauk Manor that overlooks our town were all envisioned, designed, and built by this man. There has not been a developer of more importance to Montauk than Carl Fisher. He launched a period of growth and development here, which, though it lasted only a few years, was so extensive that it created the hamlet that we know and love today. Fisher was a visionary who was remarkably prescient about what was to come, and who, against the odds, found ways to realize his dreams of creating successful enterprises as varied as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Lincoln Highway, our nation's first coast-to-coast thoroughfare, and most famously, Miami Beach, all before setting his sights on Montauk. In closing, I urge you to designate the Carl Fisher House a local historic landmark and to acquire it with CPF funds so that it is preserved for the people of Montauk, for all who live on the East End, and the throngs who visit our communities every year. Should the town be looking for a partner to manage this property, the Montauk Historical Society would be very happy to discuss a possible role for us in that connection. The alternative would be to allow this historic site to be sold to some private buyer or buyers who would then have full reign to demolish its magnificent structures, thus losing one of the oldest and most important estates in Montauk to this and future generations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Stephanie, and again for your work preserving Montauk's history.
Thank you. Thank you. No better cause.
So, Jason, do we have anyone else in the waiting room? Is there a David Freudenthal?
I don't see that person in the waiting room. There's no one in the waiting room right now.
You might. Okay, in that case, let's go to the telephones.
All right.
See who we have on the line for this specific hearing.
Okay, cool. So let me go unmute the first person. Okay, let's see. Hello, caller 7681. You're on the air. Hello.
Yes, this is Richard Whalen.
Hi, are you here to speak on this public comment? On this topic?
I am.
All right, there you go.
Yes.
Well, good morning, Richard. How are you?
Okay, good morning. Very good. I would like to add, I guess, my 2 cents to what you've heard from the prior speakers. I'm in favor of the proposed historic designation of the Carl Fisher residence, and with some reservations, which I'll get to in a moment, I'm in support of the acquisition of the Carl Fisher house as well. First, I'd like to say that it's not often appreciated, I don't think, to what extent Montauk itself has historic buildings. You know, we heard from you, King, earlier, and the town board discussing things in the village, not always historic things, but Montauk, I think, sometimes gets short shrift when it comes to the idea that there are historic buildings and structures. Montauk is old enough now that there are, beyond the ones that we all know about, which are Second House and Third House and the Montauk Point Lighthouse, there are other buildings around Montauk that also have very important, historic, have made, historic contributions or historical connections to the town. Obviously, this is one of them. So I'm in support of the proposed designation. The proposed purchase, and I'll speak on that too, I imagine you're kind of consolidating these two hearings. Obviously, it's a big building, okay, and it's going to require upkeep and maintenance. Stephanie Crusoe made a comment on, just before me, which I think, and I probably kind of imagine you're probably thinking in this direction already. This isn't something I'd want the town to just be responsible for and maintain the building, and, that's a lot, not to mention that there's another building on the property, and I don't know, what your plans are with that. That's the annex. But what I would really like to see here would be some sort of a partnership with the Montauk Historical Society. Obviously, they've proven that they can maintain, buildings and grounds, and could even perhaps turn a profit doing that. So, I guess they might see this long term as sort of a historical museum for Montauk. I don't know what their plans would be, but I think if you had a partnership with an organization like the Historical Society, you'd have a better chance of having the monies that you're going to need over time to maintain the building, because obviously that will be an expense over the long run. So with that comment, I'm in favor of both of the historic designation and of the CPF designation that will allow you to acquire the property. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. And we do look to partner with local nonprofit organizations when we have historical structures. There's Town Property Management Committee has successfully worked with a number of outside groups to have those organizations come in and take over the operations and maintenance once these properties are acquired. So thanks for calling in. Jason, if we could go to the next caller for this hearing, please.
All right. Hello, caller. Okay, and let's go unmute this one again. Hello, caller 8764. You're on the air.
Good morning. This is David Buddha. First, let me just clarify. It's my understanding that you have not merged the two public hearings, which is entirely appropriate because the two issues, historical designation and acquisition by CPF funds, are two radically different questions, and I'm only going to speak with regard to the historical designation. Am I correct in that?
Yes, David, the hearing records were not merged because we felt that they are standalone.
Thank you. I am very much a supporter of maintaining, preserving, protecting, and using historical structures throughout the town, especially where I live in the Springs. And I don't have much of a connection to Montauk, but I certainly have read everything that has been made available to me in terms of this proposed historical designation, which is two documents. One was a designation proposal dated August 17, 2021, prepared presumably by people involved in the Historical Society, although it's unsigned and not prepared by a professional historical preservationist. Also, I was provided by Mr. Wilson with the 2017 proposal document that the Historical Society presented to the CPF Fund Advisory Board, which really was just highlighting the history of Carl Fisher. I appreciate that Mr. Wilson said that back in the 80s, the town did an inventory of historical structures, used a credentialed preservationist, Mr. Hafner. I haven't had a chance to dig those up myself. I would appreciate, Mr. Wilson, if you could collect those and make those available. I would assume that those would be more detailed and more compelling as far as the reasons for why at least portions of the main structure should be designated as a local historical landmark. I have not seen any type of structural report as to the condition and historical value of the main house. I know that some portions were beyond the first and second level were renovated. There was a fire. I have no idea whether or not your historical designation should include the annex, which essentially is a separate 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom, multiple garage structure of, I don't know what the historical significance of the annex is, but you should make clear whether you are designating the entire property and all structures on it, or whether you're simply giving notice and intending to designate as historical the main Carl Fisher house. Now, Carl Fisher, of course, died in 1934, so he only resided there a short period of time, maybe about 10 years, and his widow continued to 1954 when the Aiken family took over, living in it, using it, and preserving it, which is a wonderful thing. But I think that the town, when it uses its power under the zoning laws, under the architectural and design review sections of the zoning law to designate local historic landmarks, I believe that you are obliged, and certainly is warranted, to prepare a set of preservation guidelines. The purpose of a historical designation is so to put the property under restriction for changing either the exterior, the interior, or both, to preserve those historical features. But of course, the historical features of the property and structures need to first be delineated, and the guidelines need to be developed so that the ARB, when a future owner comes before it with proposed changes, has guidelines that it must follow. Without the guidelines, a historical designation is ambiguous. Again, I appreciate the history of Montauk. I appreciate the value of Carl Fisher. I appreciate that this colonial manor, grand colonial manor, which was not prepared in the same design standards as the rest of his buildings, which were American Tudor revival, still has historical significance and should be preserved from destruction. When the house started to go on sale on the market back in 2015, the realtors said that one possibility is that it could be torn down, and that would be a shame for the residents of Montauk and the residents of the town. But preserving a historical landmark's exterior facade can be done in many different ways. It can be done by way of facade easements. It can be done by way of a landmark designation. It can be done in ways that are specified in those guidelines that would be prepared by a qualified architectural preservationist and historian that could identify the historical features of the structure. So
Yeah, David,
I don't. What's that?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So I
Try to wrap up your comments. So
I'm generally in favor of the historical designation, so long as it is properly specific as to what portion of the structure or structures it would entail, and that if guidelines are developed by a qualified person, and that the supporting historical research that was done in the 1980s for the town historical survey be made available so that everyone can understand the true historical architectural benefits of preserving this structure.
thank you for calling, David. Can we go to the next caller, please?
All right. Oh, wait, 1 second. Hello, caller, ending 3555. You're on the air.
Yes. Hi, it's George Biondo.
Hey, George, could you do me a favor?
Could you representing Aiken Associates, the family that owns the property, and I would just like to say on their behalf that they are delighted with the prospect of the town and the Historical Society taking over this property, which they have painstakingly preserved and conserved as long as has been humanly possible, and the opportunity to continue the preservation and conservation of this great historic landmark by the town is absolutely to the delight and pleasure of the family, and we are only too happy to enter into the agreement with the town to sell it to the town for preservation. Thank you.
Thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
Next caller, please.
You're welcome.
Understood.
Next caller, please. Understood.
Okay, and hello, caller 5901. You are on the air.
Oh, hi, I'm waiting for a different application.
What application are you waiting for? I can mark it down.
The Dayton property in East Hampton Village.
Dayton, understood. Thank you very much. Give me a second. Moving on to next caller. Hello, caller, ending 7079. You're on the air.
Hello, my name is David Freudenthal. I'm the chairman of the board of Concerned Citizens of Montauk. Supervisor Van Soyak, members of the council, thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. On behalf of the 2,000 members and supporters of Concerned Citizens of Montauk, CCOM, we're submitting to the public record our support of the town's purchase of 7.53 acres of land located at 44 Foxborough. The purpose of the preservation of historic property, open space, and recreation with community preservation funds, CPF funds. This parcel is centrally located on top of the only major Montauk groundwater recharge area east of Hither Hills. There are two operational Suffolk County Water Authority wells adjoining the property, one on Flanders Road and the other on Farrington Road. Furthermore, both Suffolk County Water Authority and the town have made an effort over the past 20 years to protect this recharge area. The town has previously purchased several small lots adjoining both the Water Authority wells and the central Fisher House lot. Acquisition of this parcel should be a high priority in order to sustain operation of the wells and ensure a safe source of public water. If the purchase is completed, the collective open space water recharge area will amount to over 30 acres. Preserving and protecting land from development is the most effective and efficient way to protect ground and surface waters from pollution. CCOM urges the town to continue its comprehensive acquisition of properties in Montauk. Many thanks for your consideration.
Thank you for calling, David. We have the next caller, please.
That is the last caller for this subject. We only have the other ones for the village and then for public comment.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carried. Carol, if you would please read the next hearing notice.
Take notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing pursuant to section 247, the general municipal law, and section 64E8 of the town law, the state of New York, on September 23rd at 11 a.m. or soon thereafter, as this matter may be heard, to consider the following. The town's acquisition for historic preservation, open space, and recreational purposes with community preservation funds of a developed property located at 44 Foxborough Road, Montauk, reputedly owned by Aiken Associates LLC, formerly the Carl Fisher House and Annex, and consisting of approximately 7.53 acres of land at a cost of the town of East Hampton not to exceed $5,568,500, plus reasonable survey, title, prorated tax, and recording charges. Said property being described on the Suffolk County tax map as 319-1-7.6. An amendment to the 2021 CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include said property.
Thank you, Carol. Do we have any callers on the line for this hearing?
Let me go double check that one. All right, we have one new caller. Hello, ending in, let me just make sure they're unmuted. Oh. All right. No, they just dropped off. All right, let me just go unmute. Let's see if... Hello, caller, ending 8764. Do you have any comments on this?
Yes, I do, and thank you for checking back, because some people that spoke with regard to the first hearing may very well have comments on this hearing. Acquisition is a totally different topic.
Just state your name for the record, please. Just state your name.
My direct phone number. This is David Buddha.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. First, let me just state right off the top that the town is not legally qualified and able to acquire this property because it is not currently on the CPF project plan. Next, the CPF plan of preserving community resources through a variety of different alternatives need to be reviewed by the CPF advisory board, which is supposed to be an independent, non-political entity that the town is obliged to create as part of being part of the Peconic Bay Community Preservation Fund. And the project plan, which does not include this property, is required to spell out all, to consider all available land alternatives that could protect the community character of this now or soon to be historically designated property. And that could include fee simple acquisition. It could include specific zoning regulations such as you have for the ARB review of structural changes to landmark designated properties. It could include the purchase of development rights. It could include scenic and conservation easements. And the evaluation of what is the appropriate application to benefit the CPF goals for specific properties has to be as specific as practical as to each parcel selected for inclusion in the plan. Since this property has not been reviewed, selected for inclusion in the plan, it therefore has not undergone that analysis of what is the appropriate method for preserving the character of the historic structure or portions of the historic structures. And of course, the CPF law states funds from the Community Preservation Fund may only be expended for projects which have been included in said plan. Now, the advisory board, the advisory board I know received a presentation 5 years ago or 4 years ago in 2017, and there was a discussion as reflected in the public minutes, concern over the financial maintenance of the property and how it would be used and whether or not the Montauk Historical Society would be able to handle the maintenance of the property and how it would be used. Questions were raised, apparently not answered, and this project sat not included in the CPF project plan for the past 4 years. If there has been a town planning department assessment or evaluation of the desirability of including this parcel in the CPF project plan, I have requested it, but I have not received it, and I doubt it exists. It's important to note that the CPF Advisory Board requirements specify that no member of the local legislative body shall serve on that board, and that's designed to keep it independent, professional, and above any type of political influence. For the town to consider acquiring for $5.5 million both structures, the entirety of the land, the fee simple, including the structures, and then thereby in the future maybe finding a way to maintain it, which would be substantial expense necessary, as Mr. Whalen alluded to, without a plan in advance is really short-sighted. I don't think that the town wants to promote just owning a large mansion, an 11-bedroom, 11.5 bath property between the two structures that has all sorts of bedrooms above the garages, probably once upon a time used for servants and who knows, hanger-ons. This property acquisition needs to be reviewed very carefully with a fine-tooth comb by the planning department, by the CPF advisory board, before it even considers making a designation to include it in the CPF project plan, and then to what extent. Is it more appropriate for the town to consider acquiring development rights so that no other structures might be built on the property so as to preserve against the effects of enhanced development? Would it be appropriate for the town to consider purchasing a facade easement, as was considered once upon a time with the Springs General Store? There are a lot of other possibilities short of outright acquisition that the town is obliged to consider as part of the CPF project plan development and adoption, none of which apparently has occurred in this instance, and therefore, at this point in time at least, you are legally precluded from taking the action that you have proposed to take.
Thank you
I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments, David.
Can I just make a couple of comments, Mr. Supervisor?
Absolutely, Scott.
Well, so if I recall correctly, and I know I do, I believe Brian Frank talked about this specific property when he presented the CPF project plan 2021 update. Talked about this property specifically and asked the board to adopt the 2021 CPF project plan as amended to include this property, which the town board did on November 2nd. You've adopted it. It is included in the CPF project plan. It has been reviewed by the planning department several times, and I have more than one assessment of this property from them. They gave it a strong recommendation. It was presented to the CPF advisory board. They also gave it a strong recommendation. So I'm not exactly sure what the caller is referring to.
What I'm referring to is the available published version of the adopted, or actually it was the draft, because that's the only thing available on the website is the draft 2020 CPF project plan. I'm also referring to the fact that my FOIL request requesting any and all CPF project plan review by the CPF advisory board and by the town planning department be provided to me. None of it has been provided to me. So I am speaking from the absence of any response and the absence of any specific action. And if there was a inclusion of this as an amendment to the originally proposed draft 2021 CPF project plan, I haven't seen that, and I missed that because it's not available on the town website.
David, we'll make sure you get a copy. Your comments are duly noted. Thank you. Can we go to the next caller, please?
Absolutely. Hello, caller ending 5679. You are on the air. Hello.
I'm for the next hearing.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Do you have any other callers?
No, and there's one person for the next hearing. There's one additional person, and then we have another person for public comment. But after that, that's it.
Motion
Okay.
to close?
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Carol, if you would please read the final hearing notice.
Take notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing pursuant to section 247 of the general municipal law and section 64E8 of the town law of the state of New York on September 23rd at 11 a.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider the following: the town's acquisition for the establishment of parks, nature preserves, or recreational areas with community preservation funds of a developed property located at 21 Muchmore Lane, East Hampton Village, reputedly owned by Mahogany Fretboard LLC and consisting of approximately 0.33 acres of developed land at a cost to the town of East Hampton not to exceed $2,750,000, plus reasonable survey, title, prorated tax, and recording charges, said property being described on the Suffolk County tax map as 301-2235, an amendment to the 2021 CPF Management and Stewardship Plan to include said property.
Thank you, Carol. We can go to the callers now.
All right.
For this hearing.
Unmuting first caller. Hello, caller 7679. Oh, 5679.
Yeah, hi. Thanks a lot. This is Mayor Jerry Larson at the Village. Hello, Town Board and Peter. I just wanted to call over and tell you that the Village Board supports the purchase of this land, and it would go a long way to help us expand our park. And I'm sorry, did I cut somebody off?
No, Jerry, I just want to thank you for joining us, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate the support of the Village Board for this acquisition. We've worked very well together in the past to acquire properties within the village, and appreciate you calling in. If you have any more comments, please feel free.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, and you know as well as I do, that Scott Wilson is a pleasure to work with, and he's been so supportive and helpful with all our acquisitions. Just wanted to commend him for that and let you know that he's terrific. The other thing is I wanted to thank the Dayton family for making this property available to us earlier than we had thought it would be available. And it's really going to help us. We're currently doing a renovation of the park. We're in the process, so this is going to be a huge help for us to continue that effort. And I just wanted to remind everybody of our centennial while I have an open airway. This weekend, starting tomorrow, we will have many events which you can look on our website to see the date and the times for those. And if I could just say a couple of things, I really applaud your Hampton Lifeguard proclamation. John Ryan has been a terrific help in that respect, and also with the ocean rescue team. And I tell you a quick story relating to what Jeff Bragman was talking about. When I was chief of police of the village, we had gotten a very serious call at Main Beach, and it was October. Lifeguards were all gone for the season, but it was a beautiful day. And about 5 kids were in this terrible situation out in the ocean and couldn't get in. And there I was standing on the beach, totally helpless, when John Ryan showed up and threw on some fins and swam out and rescued all 5 of the kids and one of our police officers who also became stranded out there. So it's unbelievable what a great job they do, and the town lifeguards, the village lifeguards, the Ocean Rescue, and Hampton Lifeguard Association. So I just wanted to commend you guys because that's just well thought out and well done. And then the last thing I wanted to comment was on Hugh King. I heard what he said about the village board, and I just want to let the town board know he says the same thing to us when he's in front of us. So that was all I had. I just wanted to thank everybody.
Thank you so much for calling in, Mr. Mayor. It's good to hear from you. And
all right,
we feel the same way about Scott and the lifeguards and John Ryan. So thank you. We look forward to helping you celebrate.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, we look forward to helping you celebrate
over the weekend.
All right.
All right.
Well,
have a great day. Good weekend.
You too. Thank you. We have any other callers on the line for this acquisition?
Yes, we do. Unmuting next caller. Okay. Hello, caller ending 5901. You are on the air.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks for joining us. Please state your name for the record.
Hey, Peter. My name is Chris Minardi. I'm an East Hampton Village Board Trustee. I would like to also thank the East Hampton Town Board, the CPF Board, especially noting the kind words everyone said about Scott Wilson. They are true. He's a tremendous asset to the town, and he's been very easy to work with. So thank you, Scott, and for all your time and your efforts to the Town Board and the CPF Board. I would like to voice my support for the acquisition of this property. As you know, due to the limited size of the village, it's not easy or it's rare that we get the opportunity to acquire such a special piece of property. So this property is adjacent to Herrick Park, and the future plans that we have working on right now is very special to the village. So I commend all of your efforts there, and thank you so much for the time, and we really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Trustee Minardi. Appreciate you calling in, and thanks for the support.
Thank you.
Unmuting next
caller, please.
Yes, unmuting next caller right now. Caller ending 4221. You're on the air.
Good morning. It's Jane Mearing, and I'm against it. I want to come before you today to just raise a few specific concerns about this proposed acquisition of this parcel on Muchmore Lane, a third of an acre parcel that abuts Herrick Park in the commercial center of the village. I know it currently contains, I think, a 120-year-old house. So I hope you'll consider these issues before moving forward with this proposal and actually reconsider whether this should go forward at all, or at a minimum, if this transaction should be held back until there is more clarity about the redevelopment of Herrick Park per the current mayor's re-envisioning of the space, as well as what appears to be growing involvement of private interest in Herrick Park. So first issue, as we heard discussed, well, actually take that back. This parcel was not, I don't believe, on the extensive 700 plus parcel CPF targets. The board has discretion to add to that list, and I believe flexibility around targets is very important and should be respected. But I just wanted to comment on this, that we've seen a string of these sort of off-label transactions, you know, coming up just on the heels of the approval, and I just don't want to see anything undermining sort of public confidence in the plan overall. Issue number two is a lack of transparency on this. The resolution and the posting for the hearing says that this parcel is being acquired from an entity called Mahogany Fretboard LLC, okay, with no clarity about the underlying interest in that LLC or who the actual owner's identity is. Yes, indeed, I was able to spend 30 minutes searching through LLC registrations and town property tax rolls, and I think was able to figure out the true owner of the property. I understand that LLCs are used more and more in real estate transactions for various reasons, and maybe that's okay for private market transactions, but I have to ask, is this correct protocol for CPF purchases funded by public dollars? The public shouldn't have to be scrounging around the internet or left guessing on identities. Issue three is the price tag. The proposed price of $2.75 million for a third of an acre equates to a per acre rate of over $8 million. I don't have all the data to know if that's some kind of record, but we can benchmark this across some other local transactions, which like the Bell Estate parcels, the ag land in Amagansett, and I think those range between about just under $1 million up to about $2.5 million for outright purchase per acre. And we also know that the 3 CPF purchases in 2017 of 3 properties at 14 and 16 Pleasant Lane and 25 Muchmore, I think from the same owner, and also potentially for inclusion into Herrick Park, was about a rate of $1.65 million. Look, I know land is expensive, but maybe we should be keeping some of this powder dry for other things that are coming to market now. Issue 4, I think there's a question if this particular acquisition is really consistent with CPF mandate. The resolution states it's for the purpose of said acquisition is the establishment of parks, nature preserves, or recreation areas. And on the surface, that sounds okay since this is supposedly going to be part of a village park. However, if you look at the language of the plan, when it defines sort of what's underlying parks, nature preserves, recreation, it focuses much more on passive recreation. It talks about hiking, skiing, horseback riding, mountain biking, running, bird watching, painting, drawing, fishing, etc., which leads me to, and by the way, the CPF doc does talk about more active recreation, but it urges some caution around that, which leads me to issue number 5. Herrick Park appears to me to being transitioned from a park mostly for passive enjoyment and casual recreation into a heavily used event venue, which I do not see as consistent with CPF priorities. And also, the village mayor, I know today spoke that this sounds like it, and Trustee Minority said that this will be used for part of Herrick Park, but he did say, I think back in in December 2019, earlier this year, he said, quote, "We've obtained CPF money and we've picked up lots of lots around the park. The original plan from the past board to incorporate those into the footprint of the park that exists now, but our current board has taken a slower lead on this. We're going to just not incorporate that into our current plan and use these parcels as more of a buffer around the park." And also, on the July 30th village board meeting, Mayor Larson declared definitively, quote, "Herrick Park has now become a venue basically for our village events." So a heavily used event and entertainment space might be considered totally inconsistent with prior plans and with the spirit and intent of CPF mandate and priorities. And by the way, let me just say, I know Mayor Larson and Trustee Minority are on the line, and I don't want to be off sides with them or undermine their, view about keeping East Hampton Village community and, vitality. And then last issue, significant private interests are now funding and look to be in large part controlling the re-envisioning and reworking of Herrick Park. As I understand it, the mayor in January formed a foundation, the East Hampton Village Foundation. It's been classified as a 501(c)(3). They're raising money, I think, aggressively for 2 projects. One is the sewer system, but I think they're also raising $10 million to fund the re-envisioning and renovation of Herrick Park.
For the CPF purchase.
So Jane, I'm going to ask you to wrap up. I'm going to ask you to wrap up your comments, please.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess my issue is if that money is being raised, why isn't that used for CPF purchase rather than town and public money?
Thank you for calling today.
Thank you.
Can we go to the next caller, please, Jason?
That is the last caller that we have on the line who has not spoken on this. And then the last person is for public comment, which they stated earlier.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to close.
Sorry. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. We'll move on now to public portion, where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. And again, we urge you to keep your comments to 3 minutes or less. Let's go to the first caller, Jason.
All right, unmuting caller. Hello, caller ending 5258. You are on the air. Hello.
Hello, how's everybody doing? This is Miles Mayer, and I have provided a short speech today on behalf of myself and the other CSEA members who are also town employees for the board on a subject that we all feel is very important. And so I will start. Mr. Supervisor and members of the town board, good afternoon. For any member of the public who doesn't know who I am, my name is Miles Mayer. I am a lifelong resident of East Hampton and a 16-year-plus employee of the town. I'm also the president of the CSEA union, representing almost 200 employees of the town. We are the people who keep this town running and provide services for the residents here. That includes everyone from Parks and Recreation, Highway Department, Senior Services, and all other bargaining unit members who work in the town offices. The reason I am here today concerns whether the town board can, and if it should, earmark a portion of the money it has received from the federal government through the American Rescue Plan Act to compensate town workers who provided essential services throughout the most critical months of the pandemic. According to the Act, under the section entitled Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, the funds shall be used, quote, to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers of the state, territory, or tribal or local government that are performing such essential work, end quote. That is as specific as the Act gets in terms of identifying groups of workers under the section, and it was deliberate. As the President emphasized in his public speeches on the ARPA, funding for essential workers needed to be flexible and comprehensive due to a variety of situations faced by localities. All types of public workers were rising to the challenges posed by COVID and were, therefore, potentially eligible. A couple of months ago, I met with the town supervisor to talk about this issue of hazard pay and compensation of essential workers, something I asked him about at the beginning of the pandemic last year. At that time, he said he wouldn't consider hazard pay because he claimed the town couldn't afford it and he couldn't justify it. Of course, this time around, I reminded him that now there are federal funds available to municipalities for just that purpose, and that the money would not be coming out of the town's budget. His first response was that he was told the money couldn't be used for just any essential worker, but that the money had to go to workers who specifically worked on COVID prevention. I asked what that would look like in his mind, but unfortunately his responses were vague and non-committal. The supervisor continued to raise objections. He said that it would be, quote, administrative nightmare, end quote, to try to figure out how to compensate town workers because the town would have to figure out what essential work they did and how many hours they did it. Quote, I don't even know how we would do that, end quote. I suggested that the town already had that information. The town had to provide the state with a pandemic response plan, which included job titles of essential workers at the beginning of the pandemic. And of course, the town has our time and attendance information computerized. So after such a conversation, I began to ask myself, is the supervisor ignorant of the ARPA provisions, or is he being misled by some mystery bureaucrat? Does he not read news sources that have reported on many municipalities across the state who are giving hazard pay and raises to their employees who work through the pandemic? I do not believe that this is the case. My belief is that the town supervisor, unfortunately, does not have the interest in using ARPA monies to compensate East Hampton essential workers during unprecedented times and arguably the worst health crisis in generations. While most are quarantined at home safely with their families, town workers were still providing services to the residents of this town with no lapse and while putting themselves and their families at risk of COVID. In the end, none of this makes any sense to me and others because the supervisor doesn't have to use any of the town's current budget. He has admitted, and we all know, that low wages are creating retention and recruitment issues here. And as you all could imagine, if town workers didn't work throughout the pandemic, our residents in the entire town would have been in very bad shape. So ask yourselves, how would the town have staffed the COVID testing and vaccine sites if workers from Parks and Recreation and Code Enforcement didn't set up and break down facilities and provide security? What would have happened to our most vulnerable residents if the employees of the senior center didn't prepare and deliver meals for them for a year and a half? Or if public safety workers weren't there to regulate and make sure there wasn't overcrowding at restaurants and in public in order to keep the people safe and healthy? Where would town residents under lockdown go for fresh air and recreation if town workers weren't keeping care of our parks and beaches and keeping them safe and clean? In short, if there ever was a time to show the town workforce that we are genuinely appreciated and valued, it is now. This is exactly what the federal money is for. You don't have to use money out of the town budget. It's easy and it's the right thing to do. I thank you for your time today, and please stay healthy and continue to be safe. Thank you.
Miles, thank you for calling in and expressing your views. I'm a bit disappointed in your characterization of our earlier conversations about how ARPA funds can be expended. And there are a number of points that I don't think you fully understand, and we'll be happy to present you with a memo that highlights exactly how the money can be distributed and under what circumstances. My concern is that the entirety of town government procured whatever materials and went forward with operating the town all through the pandemic, regardless of whether or not that person was designated as essential or not. Our tax department worked to meet deadlines. They're not considered essential workers. Many of our town employees didn't, qualify as essential workers and yet performed admirably. What I have a problem with is that you would be, receiving the funds that you're seeking to claim, and yet much of the rest of the town employees would not. I think that's of concern to me. And again, we'll take a look and send around the memo. I don't know how aware the other town board members are as to specifically how ARPA funds should be expended and how. I know there is discretion for the municipalities to decide how those funds are expended. Bottom line is we're extremely proud of the work that our town employees have done. And what you're talking about would not serve many of them. It would only serve some. And I think that, is unfair, frankly. We're working on a budget that will continue to regrade and increase pay for workers, even though the union just settled a contract with the town. And by the way, that contract was overwhelmingly supported. Over 70% of the CSEA supported the adoption of that new contract, which included lump sum payments to town employees. So, I'm disappointed. I think we certainly can help educate folks as to what the ARPA funds can be used for and should be used for, and we'll do so. Can we have the next caller,
Thank you very
please?
much, Peter.
Yes, next caller will be unmuted right now. Hello, caller. You are on the air.
Hi. Good afternoon. This is David Buddha for public comment. I would like to consider myself a good government advocate. Long ago, I started reminding you that it would be beneficial to public transparency and understanding of town board actions to make available in advance of work sessions documents that are to be reviewed, such as draft changes to laws or PowerPoint presentations. That suggestion has been implemented and has now been carried out thoroughly and carefully and successfully for the past 9 months or so, and I applaud you for that. However, even more important is the need for the public to know in advance of a public hearing what it's all about in terms of supporting documents, maps, records, reports, and that's never done. What your current practice, which I respectfully suggest needs to be changed, is you have to wait to a public hearing to watch someone like Scott Wilson make a PowerPoint presentation, and before anyone can really understand the details. Now, the woman who spoke concerning the CPF acquisition for the village parcel also spoke in terms of last-minute actions changing the CPF. Well, I've confirmed that on the town website, the most recent copy of the 2021 CPF project plan was last edited June 21st, and that was the draft, which you then discussed at your August 19th hearing. Any amendments that were made obviously were done based on last-minute thoughts, last-minute suggestions, last-minute actions, without going through the 2-year process that your planners did to prepare that document. So I really don't think that it's appropriate to go ahead with public hearings, which include last-minute changes, and I believe the property concerning adjacent to Herrick's property, Herrick's Park, was also perhaps a last-minute addition, ad hoc, at the August 19th hearing. I'm not sure because I did not watch that, and I'm just inferring because I couldn't find it on the project plan either. If you're making last-minute additions and changes, or if there's any substantive report, such as a historical preservation review, supporting documents from either outside entities such as the Historical Society or from the Land Management Department, if they're relevant to a public hearing, make them available for the public to look at least a day or two before the hearing. You have at least a 10-day minimum notice period. Usually it's 14 days from the time you decide to have a hearing. Well, if you decide to have a hearing, you should have all the information in front of you already. Otherwise, why bother? How would you know to schedule a public hearing? So if the information is available to you, our elected governing bodies, then you have ample opportunity to post it in a different site. You have created a place on the town website where people now know to go to view documents related to work session matters. Well, you need to create a place for people will know to go to look for documents related to upcoming public hearings. And I thank you for the consideration of that suggestion.
Thank you, David. Do we have any other callers on the line?
We have no other callers on the line.
Thank you very much. In that case, we'll move on to resolutions.
Great. Let's start with Resolution 2021-1047. It's approval of the warrant. Claims total $2,254,377.42, and the utility warrant totals $51,380.82.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
Resolution 1048 is to appoint additional East Hampton volunteer ocean rescue members for 2021. Elliot Fisher, Ben Kushner, Ethan Mitchell, and Ryan O'Dwyer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1049 is to approve a license renewal with Spring School, and it's between the license agreement between the town and the school district for use of the town's building at the Spring School is extended for the 2021-2022 school year of September 1st through June 30th of 2022 at the rate of $2,000 per month upon the same terms and conditions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1050 is to amend posting of the speed limit as per section 240-52 of chapter 240 vehicles and traffic. And this is so that the speed limit on Hog Creek Highway between Kings Point Road and Springs Fireplace Road, a distance of approximately 1.05 miles, shall be reduced and posted as 30 miles per hour. We held this hearing on September 2nd.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
2021-1051 is to authorize the acquisition of the property at 300-166-3-10. This is the town board is acquiring property consisting of approximately 7 acres of a 14-acre parcel off Abraham's Path, which is adjacent to the existing town property, which includes the Terry King Ball Field, in order to provide the town with additional space that can be used to benefit the existing recreational facility, as well as to provide opportunities for other general municipal uses, including a senior center. We had this discussion with Don and Eric Shantz at our work session on Tuesday. So we are resolving that at the present time, the use of the property and the proposed improvements have not been developed, and we determined that a segmented review pursuant under SECRA is warranted, and that the town board adopts a negative declaration pursuant to SECRA with regard to the acquisition of the property only, with all future improvements on the site being subject to full SECRA review. We also resolve that we will have the right of first refusal on the balance of the property, and that the purchase price, which we have already bonded for, totals $1,630,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer resolution 2021-1052. This is for the Boys and Girls Harbor Management Plan update and schedule a public hearing. Whereas the town and the county are the co-owners of the property located at 220 Springy Banks Road. East Hampton has the sole management rights and responsibility for the property. We last did the management plan on July 15th, 2010 through resolution 2010-687. The property management committee has helped create an updated management plan for these parcels on 8/31/21. It was discussed at the town board meeting work session on September 7th, 2021. I'd like to schedule this public hearing for Thursday, October 7th, 2021. I need to amend this to be 2 p.m.
Do I have a second as amended?
Second is amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1053 is appoint part-time recreational aide Julia Policano. Ancio. Apologize. In the recreation department for the soccer program at a rate of $20 per hour, effective September 25th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1054 is to change the title for recreational employees in the from park attendant to recreational aide. Mackenzie Bennett, rec aide at $15 an hour. Kylie Bono, rec aide at $15 an hour. Dorothy Mosley, rec aide at $15 an hour. Tri Nyan, rec aide 2 at $15.75. And Carla Walsh at recreational aide 2 at $15.75.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
2021 1055 is a termination of seasonal employees from September 2021, names and various titles below.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1056 is a budget modification for Highway Department, taking $300 from budget line for the office equipment to office expense in the same amount of $300.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1057 is a budget modification for Highway Department, taking from $1,000 from snow removal supplies, bringing it to medical supplies in the amount of $1,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1058 is a budget modification for the Highway Department. This is taking $900 from general repairs, bringing it to medical supplies in the amount of $900.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1059 is budget modification for Highway Department for repairs to a backhoe. This is bringing $20,000 from road surfacing and bringing it to parts in the amount of $20,000.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1060 is a budget modification for the Highway Department, where we're bringing $20,000 for permanent improvements and then $10,000 from the line for snow removal supplies and bringing it to the budget line for parts in the amount of $30,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1061 is a budget modification for buildings and grounds, where we're bringing $3,500 from part-time salaries and bringing it to $1,500 for community beautification and then $2,000 for subcontractor cost.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
We did a 1062 is a budget modification for buildings and grounds. We're increasing the budget line for solar PPA in the amount of $7,170. And we are bringing it from decreasing the budget lines for light and power in the amount of $1,936 and also budget line for appropriation of reserves in the amount of $5,234.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1063 is appropriation of aquaculture reserve. We are appropriating $5,030 from the aquaculture hatchery donation reserve and bringing it to computer equipment for $1,480 and furniture and fixtures for $3,550.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried.
1064 is a Hog Creek groundwater seepage monitoring remediation. The town retained Cornell Cooperative Extension to complete a water quality study through RFPs for the Hog Creek groundwater seepage monitoring, and where the initial investigation, Cornell Cooperative Extension has located several areas along Hog Creek shoreline that warrant further characterization, requiring additional pore water and surface water samplings to be collected. The Water Quality Technical Advisory Committee has reviewed the draft report, as well as the change order proposal recommending moving forward. Whereas whereas Cornell Cooperative Extension has submitted a change order for proposal for additional sampling to be collected through late summer through fall 2021 to be presented to the town board and stakeholder groups following completion. The final report in the change order would be for the amount of $7,983.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
1065 is an authorized agreement with LIPA and the Long Island Electrical Utility Service Company, LLC, in which they offered to fund the cost and design of the construction for road elevation for a portion of road, a Second House Road, North Shore Road, Montauk, in connection with the Montauk substation project. The engineer, consulting engineer, L.K. McLean, has provided the proposal for the engineering work, which they have started to do, for a total cost of $127,000, whereas the total construction and construction support and inspection costs are estimated at approximately $985,000, but shall be subject to competitive bidding. The town board and superintendent of highways supports the road elevation project. We're resolved that the supervisor now hereby authorizes to enter into an agreement subject to approval of the town attorney, LIPA, Long Island Lighting Company, LLC, for elevation of the portion of the Second House Road, North Shore Road, in connection with the Montauk substation project, and for the funding of the same by LIPA and the Long Island Electrical Utility Service Company, LLC.
Second, this has been a long time coming. I know.
It has, Sylvia. They're going to be happy to hear this at the CAC.
Yeah.
All in favor? Do we have a second?
Aye.
All in favor?
I said second.
Pass and carry.
1066 is acceptance of donations for the Laura Simonson Skate Park for the maintenance, upkeep, and potential future expansion of the skate park, from John Britton II for $100,000, for like Kyrgyz and Belgis Anand for $50,000, Gilles Delaart at $25,000, Chad Smith and Nancy Mack at $25,000, Montauk Coleman Inc. at $25,000, Lindsay and Michael Speranza at $25,000, James Bianca Jebbia, $10,000, Christopher Arndt, $5,000, Jeffrey and Rebecca Bruce, $5,000, John Edwards, Sonam Edwards, $5,000, and Julian Barrowcliff and Elizabeth Rogers at $2,500.
So
this money
this
goes into a
needs-
dedicated fund.
This needs to be amended, David. Gilles Delart actually made two $25,000 donations, one in February that he had mailed to me, and then one at late August, early September. So his total should be $50,000 over the course of the money that's been sent into the town.
Sounds good, Kathy.
What was the last name?
Delart is the third one down.
The third one down, Gil.
So I'll second as amended, and great job in getting these donations, David, and those enthusiastic folks in Montauk for doing this.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pass and carried. Yes, thanks, David. What a great group of people come together for that public-private partnership.
Resolution 2021-1067 is notice of public hearing to amend Chapter 102, building construction, Article 1, also building construction for the New York Stretch Code 2020, supplement to the Energy Conservation Code. The public hearing will be on October 21st at 11 a.m. Or soon thereafter.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2021-1068 is set a public hearing to consider amending Chapter 102, building construction, Article 3, solar installations. The public hearing will be October 21st. This is a local law amending those sections to fast track permits for solar installations.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass and carried.
2021-1069 is notice of public hearing to consider amending East Hampton Town Code Chapter 255 for relief from height limitations for solar installations. The meeting is on October 7th at 2 p.m. or soon thereafter. And this is that the height limitations are listed in our dimensional table shall not be deemed to apply to the installation of solar panels, provided they are installed in compliance with requirements of the Chapter 102 Building Construction Code.
That will also have to be amended because the notice of public hearing says the 21st. So which meeting is it that?
So this one says October 7th. You're saying we should.
At the top.
Yeah.
Read down the bottom on the notice part of it. It says the 21st. There's two different meetings listed there. So one of them has to be changed.
Okay, I would like to change this one on October 7th to the 21st so that we hear both the solar fast track and the solar height requirements changed.
Yeah,
the
that was
same
the
time.
intention. I probably missed that, changing that date, so.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't see.
Do we have a second?
Second as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1070 is notice of public hearing for local law to amend 84 balloons, Chapter 84 balloons. The hearing would be on October 7th at 2 p.m. This is to update the definition of balloons and to add a prohibition starting January 1st, 2022, prohibiting the sale of balloons filled with helium and other lighter than air gas.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1071 is Foglia and Nolan grant of scenic easement and conservation easement, schedule a public hearing. The scenic and conservation is at 22 South Geneva Court in Montauk, and the reviewing agency is Zoning Board of Appeals. And it's also to be heard on October 7th at 2 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Passed and carried.
2021-1072 is Montauk Seastone LLC, grant of a scenic and conservation easement. This is to schedule a public hearing on October the 7th at 2 p.m. It is a scenic and conservation easement at 4 Captain Balfour Way in Montauk, and the reviewing agency is Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
2021-1073 is Barry Schwartz and Patrick Kane, grant of a scenic and conservation easement. This is to schedule a public hearing on Thursday, October 7th at 2 p.m. This is at 44 Cliff Road in East Hampton, and it's the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 2021-1074 is a notice of public hearing for 2022 community block grants, community development block grant funds. And the public, we are expecting that sometime in the year 2022, the town of East Hampton expects to receive approximately $125,000 in federal community development block grant funds. These funds may be used and have been previously used for a variety of projects that benefit low and moderate income persons. They aid in the prevention or elimination of any slums or blight and or meet a need in having a particular urgency. The public hearing will be held on October 21st, 2021 at 11 a.m. And examples of eligible activities include housing, rehabilitation, elimination of physical barriers to the handicap, public facilities and improvements, street improvements, public service activities, and neighborhood improvement programs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
2021-1075 is to approve changing the name of Energy Sustainability Committee to Energy and Sustainability Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
2021-1076 is a change order for 19 Joshua Edwards Court. And this is a change order in the amount of $10,180.50 is hereby approved. The total contract is hereby increased from $64,400 to $74,581.50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
2021-1077 is to amend an affordable housing lease for Emily and Feliciano Hernandez to Emily Hernandez and Lyle Griffiths.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 1078 is to accept a road widening easement and urban renewal parcel 179 in SP-4-2. It's for Boring Building Corporation. It is at 106 Harbor Boulevard, East Hampton. However, John, this doesn't have a number of a dollar amount associated with it. Do you have that in front of you to add to it now, or we'd have to pull it and do it later?
The security amount? I don't actually.
Accepting of the easements, it's not a bond.
Is it a road widening or which
It's a
one
road
is it?
widening easement.
So the road widening easement
Accepting
doesn't have a monetary value.
Okay, so I don't, thank
There's no monetary.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the next one, 1071, it's a accept.
We vote on that one yet?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass carried.
Accept an undertaking and security for urban renewal parcel 19 in EH3, and this one does have a monetary. This is for Molly Nolan and Andrew Foglia, and it's in a form of a cashier's check for $9,600.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass carried.
2021-1080 is to accept the undertaking and security for urban renewal parcel 114 in SP4-2. It's for Timothy Schreck, and it is a check from Chase Bank for $22,500.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass carried.
And in 2021-1081, we are going to lease securities for urban renewal parcel 207 in SP1-2. It's for Amanda Pond at 33 Lincoln Avenue, and that would be in the amount of $12,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass carried.
Resolution 1082 is to authorize an appraisal class for continuing education online, 14 hours for Jill Massa at a cost of $262.18.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 1083 is to for professional services to increase the cap of fees payable to the law office of James Ryan in the calendar year 2021 in regard to pending litigation, and the cap is going to be raised $10,000 to a total of $35,000, and the payment is at $200 per hour in an amount not to exceed $3,500 on vouchers.
35,000.
I'm sorry, 35,000.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass carried.
Excuse me. Resolution 1084 is authorizing attendance at the NSAA annual meeting and seminar for Jeannie Nielsen, Eugene DePasquale, and Jill Massa, and the cost is $200 per participant for the registration fees.
Second.
Financial impact not to exceed $600.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Carried. 1085 is a budget modification for Marine Patrol, and that is moving $3,000 from equipment, computer equipment, $3,000 from overtime, and $1,200 from fuel motor vehicle to $1,500 in office expense, $1,500 in telephone, $3,000 in night differential, and $1,200 in boat fuel.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Carried. 1086 is budget modification for the police department. That's moving $9,900 from training to emergency road supplies in the amount of $3,000, medical supplies in the amount of $5,000, building maintenance in the amount of $1,900.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Carried. 1087 is a budget modification for public safety, and that is moving $1,300 from motor vehicle fuel to $1,300 in general repairs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed. Carried. 1088 is a budget modification for the Natural Resources Department, and that it's moving, let's see, from various lines to various other lines in the total amount of $700.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed. Carried. 1089 is to establish a reserve account for the Brooks Park property donations. Resolved that the town budget office establish a special reserve account for the purpose of accepting and designating donations to be used for the continued maintenance, upkeep, and future use of Brooks Park property, including residence, studios, and outbuildings at 128 Neck Path in Springs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 1090 is notice to bidders, EH21037 annual sidewalk contract. The bid's available September 23rd, 2021, and due back on October 14th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 1091 is notice to bidders, EH21-038 T-shirts, sweatshirts, and other uniform items, 2021. The bid is available September 23rd and due back on October 14th, 2021.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 1092 is to accept proposal, EH 2021-104, Green Heating and Cooling East Hampton Town Campaign, the Green Team LI, where's the town board solicited Green Heating and Cooling East Hampton Town Campaign. Green Team LI proposal best met the proposal guidelines and therefore be resolved at the recommendation of the evaluation committee that Green Team LI is hereby accepted.
Second.
All
Happy
in
to see that.
favor? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Passed and carried. 1093 is to reject proposal EH 2021-105 George Capon Route 27 rest stop stormwater abatement technical design.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. And I will say that that will be rebid. Next resolution is 1094, and that's to authorize settlement with Cablevision. Whereas Troy and Banks Consultants performed an audit of unpaid cable franchise fees, past due taxes and other monies, or revenue owed the town from Cablevision. Resolved that the town board here authorizes supervision and a stipulation and settlement subject to review and approval of the town attorney. The town's claim with Cablevision for unpaid franchise fees due and owing to the town of East Hampton. And the settlement amount is $150,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carry. I believe, Kathy, you have a walk-on that you
I do.
discussed about publications for Drug Take Back Day.
Yes, so it's ID number 26689, and it's to approve the publications for Drug Take Back Day. It's our newspaper effort. I discussed it at the liaison report. We're doing Drug Take Back Day on Saturday, October 23rd from 10 to 2 here at Town Hall. We want to do 2 weeks of quarter-page ads in the East Hampton Press, Sag Harbor Express, and the East Hampton Star in both English and Spanish in an amount not to exceed $3,280.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carry. Okay, I think that does it for all our resolutions. Do we have any executive items?
We do.
Session items to discuss?
Yes, I'd like to move into an exec session to obtain advice from counsel and to consider land acquisitions.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
What time would you like?
Can we reconvene at 3 o'clock? I have a number of calls I need to make.
Yeah, that's fine.
I have a meeting at 3 o'clock.
I'm comfortable at 3.
I'm okay at 3.
I'm too. Did we have a time with outside counsel? Was there a time set up? John, Jeff?
We have a time set
I
up.
haven't scheduled it. No.
Okay. All right.
I think he just thinks sometime this afternoon.
Got it.
Okay, so we're reconvening at 3?
Yes.
I'm moved to adjourn.
Second.
Send the link. We'll see you at 3. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay well. Be safe, everyone. And thank you, Jason.